Hey everybody, it's Keith here with Brian and Mike with It Came from GenX. Great show coming up today. Kids with guns, man. What should we do about it? Also, University of Georgia football player perishes in an accident. Much love to his family. The great Beck, gone. Lisa Marie Presley, gone. Wow. And all sorts of things coming up in pop culture. Listen to Bish tell you about the VCR. Make you feel old. And Madonna touring again. It came from GenX. Here we go.
This is an It Came from GenX video.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to It Came from GenX. I am Keith Porter alongside Brian Fisher and Michael Skinner. We are glad to be here on this 50-degree day here in Akron, Ohio. Three friends from high school going back 35 years and more, getting together just to have a little fun. It started as a football show. It has blossomed into something bigger. We have been doing this for 4 years now, and we are glad to have you with us on this journey. Say hello to the fellows right now wearing the blue and white of the Dallas Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, he's so pathetic. Say hello to Brian Fisher, everybody. What's up, Fisher?
Hey man, you gotta wear it while you can. You know what I mean? So
I ain't mad at you, bro.
yeah,
It was a dominating performance.
yeah. I was pleasantly surprised. I had zero expectations for that game last night. I was pleasantly surprised. So that was a nice way to end a extended holiday weekend. So beyond that, good quality time with Allie. Had some nice time with her. Saw mom. It was good. It was a nice, relaxing weekend. Capped off with some good football.
Yeah, absolutely. Uncle Sam has called me twice today already because he's just mad. I had to hear about Florida football all last week. His Florida teams and Miami and Tampa Bay both have been eliminated, and Tampa Bay was eliminated with prejudice last night. So I wrote that in. And he's just salty about that. So I told him I mentioned it. He said I better not, but I just did. All right. Skinbo, what's up, brother? How you been, man? Had a little bit of a headache going.
I've been fighting a migraine for about 3 days, but it's finally about to, I could say, rid itself from my body, hopefully.
That's awesome. How was your weekend?
Prior to that, good weekend. Great football for the most part until that game last night. That unbelievable. Tom Brady, bye-bye. Go home. Go away. You've had a good career. I knew you were going to
say that, man. Leave the guy alone. Tom Brady did not lose that game last night.
That was shameful and an embarrassing performance by someone that people call the GOAT.
Well, he is the GOAT, number one. Two, Tom Brady don't play defense. He didn't let them score 30-something points.
I'm not talking about that defense.
They have no running game, and the offensive line is shot. So you got
Tom Brady couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if he was 5 feet in front of it last night.
Bruh, he still got an arm. He was not horrible.
Oh,
you got to look at what he had to throw to. I watched the game. He had no time to throw.
You had Mike Evans on the 40-yard line, and he was throwing it to the 50-yard line about 20 yards to the right of him.
It's called pressure, and you cannot ask a 45-year-old man to throw it almost 60 times. You just can't do it. Anybody would be noodles.
That was awful. Awful. So the weekend was good. Football was good. Like I said, some very exciting things happened that I can't talk about right now, but we will here in a couple weeks. YouTube certainly know what I'm referring to.
I know some things.
Make that announcement in a couple weeks. But all in all, glad to be here. Looking forward to a great show.
Awesome. Cool. I had my Friday started off kind of sad. My cousin's brother passed away. And I went to that service. There was so many people there. They had rows of chairs in the lobby.
Wow.
And it was pretty crazy. So I came home and I had a weekend off to do nothing. I knew I was going to be in the house for 2 days, so I called my niece, told her to bring my little nephew over. He's 4, because I don't get to spend as much time with him as I normally do in the summer because he started daycare and my schedule. And I said, just leave him here all weekend. So he stayed a couple of days and we had a blast. And now things are about to get crazy for me, so I'm charged up for that. So charged up for this show. We took our normal recording night off so Fizz can watch them boys. We'll talk a little bit about later. And before we do that, Fizz, tell them where they can find the show.
All right. Well, you might be listening to us on demand on your favorite podcast platform.
I demand you guys stop doing this show.
That's right. That's what some people say out of Laos, I think. Anyway, so yeah, wherever you listen to podcasts, pull us up. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, wherever. Just look for the It Came From Gen X podcast. Give us a follow or subscribe over the platform works that you're listening on. And as we publish new episodes every week, they'll pop into your feed free of charge and listen to us at your convenience on the go, exercising or working or what the heck you're doing.
Penance.
What's that?
Penance, whatever.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And we are known if we are playing in the background while you're working, productivity goes up a minimum of 3.25%.
I heard that. It's up to 3.4 now.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Based on our analytics and so forth. You might be watching us on the Boss Code Media TV network. You can find that app on your smart TV device or your portable device. Just look for the Boss Code Network. Download the app, subscribe, and we have our very own channel there. It Came From Gen X channel. We post segments there. Also, other creative content out there by many creative people across the country, including our partner, Des the Reason, global rap artist, very, very talented. So he has videos and things out there as well. So go check out the Boss Code Media Network. You can also watch us on our very own YouTube channel at It Came From Gen X. Give us a free subscribe there too. And as we pop new videos on there, you'll get a notification. Again, all free of charge to keep up with us. 2 main places you can find our social media. Our Linktree page is simply Google Linktree. It Came From Gen X. It's simply a page with links to our social media where you can listen to us, etc. And our website, itcamefromgenx.wordpress.com. All show information's there. Links to new episodes are there. Videos, bios, ways to sponsor the show. And also on our Linktree and website, our new link to our podcast merch page site. Absolutely. So you can get shirts and mugs and pint glasses, all kinds of things with our logo, and also our partner podcast that I'm on, Convincing Idiots with Dean and Nick. All kinds of cool merch there, very high quality, good stuff. If you do anything at all, follow, share, subscribe, tell a friend. That's how we grow, and we appreciate your support out there. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to call ourselves X-Men, but some corny superhero group stole that from us. So
yes, it's a copyright battle.
Ongoing. We can't speak on it right now. Our lawyers are like, right. It might be Gen X Man. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
all right. Hey, and if you like how this podcast sounds, big shout out to our man Michael Skinner Jr. produces our podcast for us. We love him. Appreciate all he does, and the video production, man, which is I think just excellent. Every week I watch the videos and just impressed. I was all put together, done by our own Brian Fisher here. So big ups to them, and let's get this show on the road. Skinbone, take it away, bro.
All right, we're going to go to somewhere in Indiana, Beech Grove, Indiana, to be exact. That is a suburb of Indianapolis, where a doorbell camera footage was broadcasted on a police reality series showing a 4-year-old waving a gun and pointing at neighbors' doors in a complex that they live in. Now,
Wow.
find out the gun is loaded, and it's a 4-year-old waving this gun. Shane Osborne, father, was arrested, and this comes a week after the 6-year-old brought a gun, got into the school, and shot his teacher in Newport News, Virginia. My first question is, how the hell are these kids possessing these vehicles, possessing these firearms? And secondly, how the hell do these kids who basically are toddlers know how to use these things?
No.
You know, you've got the gun lobbyists that are trying to take the guns away from law-abiding citizens. But you've got these idiots that are hammering these lefts and these rights for wanting to strip their rights away for having a gun. Yet we have 2 children in less than a week in 2 different parts of the country waving a damn gun. Where's your argument in this? I don't want this to become political, and I certainly don't want to spend an hour talking about gun control, whether you believe in it or not. But I do need to point out that I possess a gun. I have one in my house, but I guarantee that my 10-year-old or my 7-year-old and my 2-year-old grandsons that live in the house with me have no idea where it's at and no access to it, which is the way it's supposed to be. Why did this kid have access to the gun? And why did that 6-year-old make it all the way to school, pulled out the gun, and shot the teacher? I don't understand how this happens. Again, I don't want to go into a huge rant because I could go on for hours. But I am pretty miffed when I read this story today, a week after hearing in the news that poor teacher, who happens to be, from my understanding, she's recovering and she'll be fine.
That's good.
But the trauma that she's going to have, and these kids that witness this, going to have for the rest of their lives. Did you guys hear about these stories? Do you have any comments, concerns, or am I out of whack with the way I'm thinking? Because I hope a lot of people are pissed off like
No,
I am.
you're not out of whack. I heard about the Virginia story. I didn't hear about the kid waving the gun in front of the camera. That's so scary. They're both horrifying.
How was that
But
broadcasted
a kid waving a gun? You could hit anybody.
Broadcasted on a reality series.
Yeah, I don't know. This is crazy. Here's the thing. When you own a firearm, there's a lot of responsibility that goes into that. There's your first problem. You got people who own guns and think because it's America and however you got that gun, it's your right. End of story. I have a firearm as well. I didn't get that gun until 2 months of watching videos, firearm safety, Second Amendment laws, Ohio firearm laws. I learned so much stuff before I got that gun. What to do if you actually protect your house. People think just because somebody breaks in their house, I can shoot them and I'm good. Doesn't work that way. There's a lot of protocol you need to follow. There's protocol you need to follow when the police show up, how you're supposed to act, what you should say, what you shouldn't say. Make sure you set that firearm down and unload it. Don't be near it when the police show. There's all these things that go into owning a gun, the responsibility of it. And too many people, they get the possession of a gun and think that's it. They don't have to be educated on it or anything like that. Secondly, people are cheap. If you're going to get a gun, now it depends why you have a gun. If you have a gun for pure sport and something like that, it should be locked up in a safe period. And you can, the old adage, have the gun here, the ammunition there. But if you have a gun to protect your home, I'm not into that. Have your gun over here and your ammo over here. That's nonsense. My gun stays loaded 24/7. But you either need to have a biometric box And you can get one for less than $100, a good one, which is a little metal box, and it will only open up to your hand signature. And boom, you have immediate access to it. And no kid's going to get in it, I promise you. Or some kind of quick open safe. So, yeah, these parents need to be arrested, or whoever has the firearm and the kid got access to it. To answer your second question, how do they know? We know the answer to that. We've talked about it. Kids are desensitized to guns, to violence. Well, we all are, and they watch all these movies and video games, and everybody's got a gun, and they don't know what they're doing. When I started going to the range and learning how to shoot, it hit me immediately. You know what? These TV shows are full of crap. All this stuff, and you can't fire a gun like that. If I don't see anybody holding a gun like this and leaning forward and all that good stuff, I know they don't know what they're doing. So it's everywhere. It's just like a car. You think you can jump in one and take off and drive. That's what I did when I was 13 because I've seen it so much. They see guns in all the movies, all the shows, all the videos, and hey, it's no big deal to pick up one. So this
good point.
Yeah, I'm right in line with Yuki. That it's irresponsible parenting, flat out. That's what it is. So, I have my own opinions about how easy it is to get a gun. We're not going to get into that, but if you do have a gun and your kid, something like this happens, to me, it's very simple. You lose your gun. Mm-hmm. Clearly, you don't have the capability to be a responsible gun owner. Somebody's going to get killed.
Agreed.
Including perhaps your own child. Yeah, absolutely. If not a fine and or jail time as well. You need to deter this type of behavior. And you're right. It's probably the majority of gun owners, who knows, probably more than not, are responsible, especially if they have kids. There's plenty of gun owners like you guys that, take the right precaution. But unfortunately, too many people don't. And like I said, people's going to get hurt and people get killed. So if anything happens, again, you should at the very least lose the privilege. That's it. That's simple. It's too bad.
All right, fellas. Well, I appreciate your opinions on this. I said I could go on for hours with that subject, but
unbelievable.
Prayers to that teacher and her family and students and the family of those students that they can get through this. And we'll see what happens in Indiana.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Craziness, and it's not helping the cause for rightful gun owners. It's not helping at all. It just gives more ammo to the liberal left who want to, like you said, hurt the gun owners that are responsible. So we won't get into all that. Another story. Okay, guys, let's talk about a little sports and music here. It is football playoff weekend. We see Fish, Dorn, and Dallas Cowboy, blue and white, and the Cowboys look like world beaters last night. All day long, all I heard was Dak Prescott. Did he silence the critics? Dak Prescott, did he silence the critics? So I don't know about that. He played great last night. He was phenomenal last night.
Temporarily.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say, temporarily.
You got to understand, and I'm not harping on them, but they played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're talking about a team that was not even at 500. Their division is so bad that they won that division at 7-9. And it's just a shame that a team like Dallas won 12 games, but had to go on the road for a wild card because Tampa Bay won their division. That's just the way football works. Can't do anything about it. But they took care of business last night. And I think I always consider the wild card round is where you get rid of the also-rans, where you get rid of the pretenders. Teams who got there because of an easy schedule and all this other stuff. Next week is when we're going to see what's what. Nothing but great games. And Dallas has got to play the 49ers, who are playing on a tremendous level right now, to watch what this Mr. Irrelevant quarterback is doing is historic. It's historic.
Mr. Purdy.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing how far they go. Even if they don't go any further, what we have seen has been pretty historic. So them in Dallas is going to be great. Two phenomenal defenses going at it. I don't think Purdy has faced the defense like this. He's got to deal with Michael Parsons getting in his face. And the Dallas offense has to deal with a tremendous 49er defense. So it'll be good to see. We talked about Tom Brady a little bit in the beginning, and we'll see what he does next year. I still think he can still play. This was just a very weak team. They had the worst running game in the NFL. Their offensive line was shot. Their defense wasn't the same. They limped it to the playoffs. They were not a playoff team. They just ended up in the playoffs. So
he'll play one more year.
Yeah, I think he might too. I think he will too. Okay, guys. While we're talking about sports, unfortunately, wait a minute. While we're talking about the playoffs, the Jacksonville Jaguars shocked the world.
Yeah.
Coming down for 27 down at one point?
27-0.
27-0 at halftime, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Third greatest comeback in
if you would have
postseason
told me a team was 27 down and the quarterback threw 4 picks in the first half, they were going to come back, I would have told you were absolutely insane. But that's exactly what we saw with Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars sending the Chargers home. A great game. But the story that circulated the internet wasn't the comeback, wasn't the win. The story that circulated the internet was Trevor Lawrence, after that game, walks into a Waffle House late at night. Now, I was told one of the reasons he walked into there is because there's nothing else open in Jacksonville that late. And he was very, very gracious with the staff. He took pictures and signed autographs, and he was there for a couple hours or more. This video has really done great things for his career, personality-wise, to the people. He's endeared himself to the people alongside with the win. So I bet you he can do no wrong in Jacksonville right now. But he just came off as this really, really cool guy. And I was just thinking, man, you know what? There's been some really cool players. We know we've seen a lot of jerks in the NFL or other sports. I was just thinking, man, who would be somebody I would like to meet who seems like they'd be a really cool player? And I was trying to think of who was the coolest player I have met. So I thought it would be fun to ask you guys the same question. And Skinner, I'm going to start with you. Is there anybody past or present that just seems really cool that you would like to meet?
Past or present?
I mean, they're not playing anymore, or they're playing right now.
Truthfully, I would love to have or would love to meet. Oh, geez, now I'm going to forget his name. Caught me off guard here. He's the shortstop for the Cleveland Indians during the 90s.
Omar Vizquel.
I can't believe.
Yeah,
I've got his bobblehead right here in the window with me. But Omar Vizquel, he was a cool dude. He
seemed like it.
He
told me.
Had his own fashion line during the 90s. He had the leather coat that he had a company that did that. Just the way he talked, the way he walked.
I didn't know that. Okay.
One of the best shortstops of all time defensively. Just a cool dude. I would love to have met him. Okay. There is one guy I have met, and he's local, by the name of Larry Nance.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Basketball player for the Cleveland Cavaliers. After basketball, he went into drag racing. When I was in college, I worked for a carpet cleaning company, and we got called out to his residence on Revere in Bath. Well, I'll just put it that. And I was able to meet him and his family, and he took me to his car that he had in his driveway that he raced with. And I'm like, how the hell do you fit in this car at 6'11"? So he took me out to the car and he was very gracious.
That's funny.
Told me how he got into it. It was just a fantastic conversation. And I never knew that about him until that day. So it was really cool to have met him.
Okay, great. All right, Fish. Anybody playing now or used to play that you think would just be really cool to meet? And I mean, as far as them being like a cool person, they just seem like they're cool.
Yeah. One that comes to mind is the great Roger Staubach, former
Absolutely.
quarterback of the Cowboys in the 70s.
Good call.
I've seen some biographies of him, specials on him. They had an NFL special. I don't know if it's still on the NFL Network or ESPN, whatever the heck it was, but they just did a story on a player. They talked, I saw the one on him, and I got emotional with that because he seemed like such a quality person that made such positive impacts on people around him, his family, former players. Even to this day, he's still the quarterback, if you will, to former Cowboys of that era. So he helped Hollywood Henderson with he helped him with encouragement to get off of drugs and stuff, and just all kinds of. And he's a very successful businessman.
Yes, he is. He's a billionaire.
Yeah, so just to talk to a guy like that who just exudes leadership and quality. He's been married to the same woman for many years. Just a high quality person.
He's a really very strong Christian man.
Yeah, it would be super motivating just to talk to a guy like that and get some encouragement or what the heck it is. Just a model person in football and business. So there you go. How about that?
Anybody that you've met that
I can't. That's okay. Sorry, I cannot think of any professional player that I actually met. So I have to pass on that one.
Okay. One of the players, I have to go with a few here. You'll understand why. As far as somebody in the past that I think would be just so cool and would love to meet, one would be Julius Erving.
Mm-hmm.
He was my first favorite basketball player before a guy by the name of Michael Jordan came along. Just a class act.
Yeah.
The way he carried himself. I would think he would be really cool to meet. But the player I would love to talk to, because his strength of character is just off the charts, would be Jackie Robinson. What he did and what he had to put up with. You read about it, it'll blow your mind. The courage that he had. I mean, he had to be scared to death in some of these situations that he was in.
Sure.
Outstanding story. And I would love to meet and talk with him. As far as players that I've met, just super cool to meet. Oh, current player I like to meet, Joe Burrow. That's just my new guy. I just think he was just the coolest dude, man. Every time I read something about him, he's just doing the right thing, Even recently with the tragic, but the accident that we had with the Buffalo Bill player, just hearing about him going into their locker room and checking on him, he's just a real cool dude. As far as players that I've met, he's actually my favorite player, and I've got to meet him once. But Jerome Bettis is just he's just an everyday kind of guy. And I knew he would be cool before I met him when I watched this video and he walked into Burger King and was just talking to everybody and ordering food. I was like, wow, he's just real low key. And I got to meet him at the Hall of Fame game, and he was really, really nice guy. So, all right, cool. Trevor Lawrence, man, I like to see you have a great career, because they got to our bad start in Jacksonville, and our old coach didn't do him any favors. So I'm excited for the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, guys, music. We have a tragic story in the world of college football. Georgia won the national championship, and unfortunately, one of their players was killed in a terrible accident just a few nights ago. Devin Whitlock and a recruiting staffer by the name of Chandler LaCroix early Sunday were killed taking a curb on Barnett Shoal Road, and cost them their life. And that's just a real sad story. We just want to wish our condolences to their families. Man, just after celebrating the national championship, and you have to deal with this. That's really stinks for that football team right now. So our hearts are out to them. Real quick, in music news, we had some unfortunate deaths. The great Jeff Beck, guitar legend, has passed away. I don't have his age right with me. You have his age, Fish?
I can tell you 1 second here. 78.
78 years old. He's been around. You talk about somebody's done it all. I mean, man.
Arterial
Is he in the Hall of Fame
meningitis.
twice? I think he's in the Hall of Fame twice. But yeah,
he might be with the Yardbirds and the solo, perhaps, if I'm not mistaken.
Definitely on Rolling Stone's list of top guitarists in the world. But I know a lot of musicians, being a musician myself, that were really impacted by his death. Condolences to his family. And Lisa Marie Presley. And the weird thing is, there's a picture circulating the internet, Lisa Marie talking to Jeff Beck. And sitting on a couch, and they passed away within the same week. And the Lisa Marie thing really shocked me. I don't have her age here as well, but
54.
54. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Man, the King's daughter, former wife of Michael Jackson. Go ahead, Skinner.
I was just say she passed away from a heart attack, which is just amazing.
Wow.
And she was also married, Keith. She was also married to Nicolas Cage.
Was she really?
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
Skinner
should have been doing this story.
I was not aware of that.
Now, what is your favorite Nicolas Cage movie?
I'm
joking with you.
So yeah, that's just crazy. The Presley family has certainly known their fair tragedies, as we have all. So anyway, that's it, guys, for sports and music with me. Let's get to some pop culture with Fish.
17 past the hour.
What hour? What hour?
No, in the Rockies, miles along the coast.
But what about Des Moines?
It's Degree. Gonna be one of those days.
One of what days? No need to wing it. Call Infoline for time, temperature, and weather. 244-5611.
Thanks, Bankers Trust.
Infoline from Bankers Trust.
Okay. Well, when we start here, guys, on a lighter note, GenX recommendations. Have you watched or heard or anything you wish to recommend to our viewers on Boss Code Media, YouTube, or our listeners on podcast? Keith, have you seen anything interesting?
I started watching season 3 of Godfather of Harlem.
Okay.
If you have not seen this, I'm telling you, is one of the best shows ever made. Forrest Whitaker is a genius. He's always one of my favorite actors and directors. He's back into acting. He plays legendary Bumpy Johnson, true story of a gangster who ruled Harlem, drug dealer. If you ever seen the movie Hoodlum with Larry Fishburne, it's a great portrayal of Bumpy Johnson when he got out of Alcatraz, went back to Harlem, found out Dutch Schultz was trying to take over. It's got Lucky Luciano in it, all these guys. Phenomenal movie. But Godfather of Harlem is a series. It features Bumpy when he was older. Malcolm X is in it. Muhammad Ali is in it. And it is just outstanding television, man. Hardcore stuff, but it's excellent. You will love it.
Okay. Very good. Skinner, anything you wish to recommend, sir?
Yeah, I've got a couple of them. First one's on Amazon Prime. It's called Closed for Storm. The documentary about a Six Flags that was going up in New Orleans until Katrina hit. And it's about 90 minutes long, and it was a fascinating story of how they finally got an amusement park. It just had opened, and then Katrina hit and just destroyed everything. So if you're interested in documentaries such as that, I highly recommend it. Gives an insight to the storm and how powerful it really was, and what it did, not just in New Orleans, but everybody in the area. And then I watched a movie on Paramount Plus called Devotion. It's a true story about a pilot named Jesse Brown, who happens to be black in color, back during the Korean War. and his enduring friendship with a fellow fighter pilot.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Tom Hudner, who happens to be also in Top Gun Maverick. And it's a story, based on a true story of this guy who just, I don't want to say too much because I would then will spoil it for everybody, but it's a fantastic feel-good movie. And I came to grips with it when I realized it was a true story. I just was enamored with it even more. So after finding out that it was a true story, has some great scenes with old fighter pilots, old dog fights and stuff. So if you're interested, if you're a military buff or interested in stories like that, it's definitely one to watch.
Yeah, it's got that Tuskegee Airmen feel to it.
It does. Again, and that one's on Paramount Plus.
Okay. Very good. Over the weekend, I saw. Go ahead.
I was going to say Godfather Harlem is on Hulu.
Hulu. Okay. I caught the Banshees of Inisherin, which is a movie. It's actually won some Golden Globes recently, including Colin Farrell, who won Best Actor in a musical or comedy. Excuse me, sort of a dark comedy. You can find this streaming out there for rent or on HBO Max with your normal subscription. It just came out last year, so. So with the Golden Globe nominations and wins, I just thought I would check it out, and I'm glad I did. It's definitely a dark comedy. Not to spoil anything, but the high-level premise is Colin Farrell is friends with actor Brendan Gleeson in the movie. They're long-term friends, and they have a falling out, and Colin Farrell really tries to reconcile with his friend, and things go kind of dark, and there's weird repercussions and everything else. So takes place on an island off the coast of Ireland. Some of these movies, the Irish accents could be almost too thick to really understand. So, not the case here. There's definitely Irish accents galore, which you would expect, but it's still very legible and everything else. So, I thought it was a good movie. So, I recommend Banshees of Inisherin. And I caught the first episode of a new series, also on HBO Max, The Last of Us, which is based on the video game of the same name. Pedro Pascal, who plays the Mandalorian, is the lead here. So it takes place in a futuristic Earth where it's not a zombie thing. I always thought it was a zombie thing, but it's not really a zombie thing. So humans are infected by a fungal, like a fungus, basically. So it's a fungus that spreads.
It's like high school.
Yeah, I guess sort of. But the fungus is spread similar to like a zombie virus, where you become infected. The fungus takes over your brain, so you're sort of like a creature that the fungus is taken out control over, and it wants to continue to spread itself into every living human, and so they bite, and that's how it transmits itself and all that. So it's sort of a zombie-ish type thing. And there's a band of humans that are fighting to survive, and then Pedro Pascal has to take a girl from their community somewhere else for reasons to be learned later. The first episode was like an hour 20 minutes, so it's like a movie in itself almost. But I don't know how many episodes there's going to be, but it was interesting. I mean, if you're a fan of the video game, you might be a fan of this. I never played the game or anything like that, but I've always been a big zombie buff, and so it definitely had that feel to it. And I like Pedro Pascal anyway; he's a great actor, so it's interesting to see him in different things besides The Mandalorian. So for that alone, I would say go check it out on HBO Max.
Yeah, and The Mandalorian is returning here in a little over a month.
Yes, indeed. They showed the trailer for the first time during the Cowboys game last night. So did you see the trailer?
Yes, I did. That's why I texted you guys last night. It looks really good.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it's out there, I'm sure, by now, Keith, so you can check that out. So it looks great. Because there was even a clip of the same type of creature that was the little creature by Jabba the Hutt, that little laughing. I don't know if it's the same one or not, but it shows a little clip of him and stuff. So anyway, it looked very good. definitely intrigued with Mandalorian season. March 1st, I think.
Yes.
So coming up here soon. Yes, indeed. All right. I'll just make a note here. So I'm just looking at movies and shows that are coming out this month here tonight. Now we're shooting this on Tuesday, January 17th. One of the big shows that was not a reboot, but kind of a continuation of the original series on NBC, Night Court, premiered this evening. So this is the continuation of the original Night Court. There's an actress, and I'll have to look her up here.
Melissa
Rauch.
Thank you. From The Big Bang Theory. She plays Harry.
It was weird.
Yeah, Harry's son, the original judge. And John LaRoquette comes and reprises his role as Dan, the attorney. Dean, he's a huge Night Court fan. He watched it tonight. He thought it was very good. It rings true to the original.
I didn't think it was funny, and my sister didn't think it was funny at all.
So you watched it tonight? Okay.
I saw a little bit of it.
Okay.
I didn't have a whole lot of time, but Pam watched all of it. She was very disappointed. But it was eerie listening to Melissa Rouse talk when you think of the voice she had as Bernadette.
Oh, yeah.
Rouse
Listen to her talk normal.
Well, it was really weird. You used to that.
Well, he's been a Night Court fan for years and years, and he thought it was pretty good. So I'll sort of take his word. I'll check this out. I used to watch the original Night Court back in its time, so I'll definitely check it out on NBC, and I'm sure it'll be on the NBC app and maybe Hulu. I'm not exactly sure, but definitely the NBC Peacock. It wouldn't be on Hulu; it'll be on a Peacock. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Big tour being planned. I know Keith is going to be watching the ticket apps as soon as tickets go on sale. This artist makes her way to Cleveland this August. 4-decade tour. So it's 4 decades since she first began to perform. Talking about the 64-year-old Madonna is planning a huge world tour. It's called the Madonna, the Celebration Tour. It's going to be a 35-city global tour. It's just going to be tons of hits. I don't know if I'll go see this, but you know what? I'm interested. She has so many hits out there. I'm sure it'll be an interesting show. Obviously, she's getting a little up in age. I don't know. She seems like she still has some energy and all that left. I think probably in part, if I may, from perhaps the witchcraft practicing, Keith. I'm not sure. So what are your thoughts on the Madonna tour? When are you buying your tickets? What role are you going to be in? That's what our listeners and viewers want to know.
Well, you already know how I feel about Madonna, so I won't go into that. But I tell you what it does make me think about.
No, wait. Keith believes that she is a witch in all reality, yeah?
I don't believe it. She is a witch. She admits it. I'll show you the proof. She practices witchcraft. Just because you haven't seen it don't mean it ain't true. Madonna is a cabal practicing witch. It's common knowledge to those that know her. I'll send you some stuff. You watch it yourself. This isn't hearsay. This is Madonna admitting to all this. But anyway, it puts in perspective, wow, how old we are. I remember when she burst on the scene. That's plain as day. There was a guy we all went to high school with. Well, he was a senior when I was a sophomore. Same last name, Dave Porter. And I'll never forget going to his house with him. And I think it might have been the first time ever I was in the house with a bunch of white girls, because he had a sister at my age and all her friends were over. And I'll never forget them all in the living room, and one was going, hey, here's the girl I was telling you about. And I didn't think about it then, but thinking about it now, that's how much she captivated young women, young girls. They were just all into her clothes, how she dressed, how she carried herself. And she's been doing this for over 40 years. So that's pretty amazing career.
Absolutely. Skinner, what are your thoughts on the Madonna tour or Madonna in general.
I was wondering when it was going to happen. Truthfully, she'd been off the scene for a while. Every so often you hear stories that she gets put back into people's minds, but yeah, I was curious as to when it was going to happen. I'm like Keith, my sister was a huge Madonna fan, and all her friends. He's right; she captivated the young female group when we were kids, and I'm sure a lot of the guys had that Hollywood crush or that girl crush with Madonna. Oh my gosh, look at her, type thing. But she has a lot of hits, like you said. And so be curious to see how long her show's going to be, because she could probably sing for what, a 3-4 hours set and not duplicate a song. So it'll be interesting to see how that all turns out for her.
Yeah, quite the extensive library, that's for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Real fast here. So Jeremy Renner, he, of course, the actor that plays Hawkeye, is also in different shows and all that. He was hospitalized recently with a snowplow accident. So he had a snowplow that he got run over by it, and he had pretty serious injuries. And he is now out of the hospital and back home with his family recovering. So I just want to mention that. So he is in the big television series now on Paramount Plus, The Mayor of Kingstown, which I haven't seen yet, but it's supposed to be, I've heard
you have
good
to
things
watch
about
it.
Yeah.
It's an incredible show. That was one of my recommendations a while back. Season 2 just hit last night. They play it for every Sunday for 10 weeks. Yeah, it's a fantastic show. I watched it, the first show, and I don't mean to cut you off, but the first show coincided with Hawkeye, the series.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm watching Hawkeye on Disney, and then I'm turning over to Paramount Plus to watch him play in Mayor of Kingstown. And he's such a good actor, and I think he's very underrated as an actor, that you watch him here and then you watch him here and you don't get lost, which is a pretty hard thing to do for any actor, but you don't get lost in his character. So anyways, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. Very good. Yeah, there's not too many actors that have been in those big superhero roles. They play something else that you still don't think about them in the other role, but he might be one of the exceptions where, like you say, based on his acting chops, you could put aside that he was Hawkeye when he's in something else.
He was also in The Town, which was a fantastic movie as well. He was really good in that.
That's
he played in one of the Bourne movies too.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Another superhero actor, not as thought of as highly, I'm trying to say here, is perhaps Jeremy Renner. Ezra Miller. Now, Ezra Miller plays the Flash. Now we have the new Flash movie that's going to be coming out here, I think in March, if I'm not mistaken. I'm definitely interested in this, probably for the most part, that Michael Keaton will reprise his role as Batman in the Flash movie. Of course, Ezra Miller has been in the news for some negative stories with just weird, bad behavior. Last Friday, he pleaded guilty to a charge stemming from a break-in and theft of alcohol at a neighbor's house in Vermont. So I don't know. So the fact that he pleaded guilty, he might be trying to get his head together. I'm not so sure. So do you think now, obviously, since he assumed the role, James Gunn and Peter Safran have now come in to take over DC Studios. So you have a different leadership there. A lot of rumors going around that he is out. Other rumors now are saying maybe he finds a way to retain the role of the Flash. I don't know. Keith, what do you think? Does Ezra Miller find a way to retain his role of the Flash, or is he out and they're going to go a different direction? What do you think, sir? And what would you like to see?
That's a really good question, Fish, and I really don't know. I would have to lean towards him losing that role, just for the simple fact that James Gunn has taken a no-nonsense approach to his role in DC. He's eliminated some huge names, much bigger than Ezra Miller. So I'd have to believe, he'll probably eliminate him too. He's trying to redo DC's image and things of that nature. So if I had to guess, I would guess that Ezra Miller was out. As far as what I want, to me, Ezra Miller's portrayal of the Flash is one of the most aggravating performances I've seen. I hated his portrayal of Flash. The Flash is a jokester. He's funny. He's witty. He flirts a lot. And they just totally turn him into this wide-eyed weasel, scared of his own shadow. You know, he kept tripping in the movies. I thought it was really annoying. So I hope they get somebody else and fix that portrayal of the Flash.
Yeah. Skinner, what do you think?
I'm with Keith. I think he's not the person for the role. There was a lot of mistakes. And I agree with him when he said that DC will probably take the approach of they're cleaning house. No, I think this baggage now is going to be too much for them to overcome to keep the role. I hope James Gunn does clean house. We talked about this pretty extensively in the show before about DC and with James Gunn. So my guess they're going to move on and build from what they got and go from there.
It's hard to imagine a world that you let Henry Cavill go, but you keep Ezra Miller. I
don't see it happening.
That to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. If he's going to recast the most popular, he's out as well. I'm with you. And I forgot his name, but Grant Gustin, who plays the Flash on the TV show, that's
Grant.
the Flash.
Love Grant.
I used to watch that show pretty avidly. It kind of fell off over time. We need to go back.
I fell off too, Fit. I said that last night. I watched for about 6 seasons. Loved it. Then it just got a little too. I don't know. I just fell off.
I think it's in its final season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
it's coming up here, Keith. Yeah. So, but that's a good portrayal of the Flash.
3 years ago.
Yeah. But that kid's got it down right. So yeah,
I love it. I love Grant Gustin. I love that version of the Flash.
Yeah. So just like you say, just if you're gonna reboot it, just reboot it and start all over again and see what else who else you can find in that role. Okay.
Yeah, he's just a little too thin. I wish they would have gave him a little more, but other than that, he's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, so Barbie is transforming again here. So do you know there's a movie coming out, Barbie? Did you know that? There's a movie coming out this year, live action, based on the characters. Yeah, so it's Margot Robbie is going to who played Harley Quinn. She's going to be Barbie in this.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
wow.
And then Ken. Now that I said it, I got to look it up here. It's a very well-known actor. I'm going to look it up here real fast here. Barbie movie. Ryan Gosling is going to play Ken.
Ryan Gosling?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Let's see. Will Ferrell's in this? Yeah. Who?
The person that would have been good for Ken. He was in Magic Mike, and he had his own show. Come on. Okay, that's the new one that's coming out.
Well, you look that up and we'll come back. Oh, okay.
Oh, Bomer. Okay.
Yeah, he would be great as Ken.
Okay.
Will Ferrell's in this movie.
White Collar was the show he had.
Yeah, it comes out in July. Anyway, so probably in part because of the movie coming out here. So there's a new version of Barbie coming out targeted for younger kids age 3. Yeah, so it's a taller one. So this is called My First Barbie. It's going to be about 13.5 inches tall, which is 2 inches taller than the traditional Barbie, with a larger waist that de-emphasizes the bust line, it says.
Yeah.
And flesh tone modesty undergarments permanently attached. And they're going to have different versions, so different skin tones and everything else here. So, and a huge mouse of her fingers and thumbs are connected eliminating a frequent complaint that Barbie's hands get caught in her clothes when children try to tie them on. So just trying to target younger girls who are getting into Barbies for the first time, so they have one, and they obviously, of course, the whole idea they get hooked, and then as they grow up, they want to continue to get Barbie and accessories and everything else here. So it's really just amazing. So that you think about all the toy franchises across the history of toys, Barbie is definitely one that has persevered for decades.
And you know what's amazing about that?
Yeah.
It's probably the only toy that has a huge advocate cross-section of America against them. There is a huge women's movement against Barbie dolls. And it's lasted. They says it gives young girls unrealistic ideas of what beauty is. It, causes more harm than good. And yet they're the one that's still standing. Pretty amazing.
Yep. Pretty amazing stuff.
I'd watch this Barbie movie if you know who I want to see him cast as Ken. Tracy Morgan. If they do that, I'll watch it.
That would be interesting.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, I would definitely watch it for sure if that's the case.
Let me make me some eggs.
Yeah, think about this. Not too many toys out. There's definitely some. There's definitely, that might be another topic at some point now that I say that. There's definitely movies based on toy lines out there that went on to achieve some success. Obviously, you had Transformers, you had G.I. Joe, now you have Barbie and all that. It'll be interesting to see how this hits. Anyway, Peyton was never that much into Barbie. Were your girls into Barbie, Skinner?
They dabbled, but they weren't as into it as most girls prior to our age group.
I'm just kidding, Junior.
our age group, all the girls that we grew up with, they all were huge into Barbies. But I think the millennial generation, they weren't as into it as maybe the girls are nowadays.
Okay. Yeah, we had the My Little Pony for girls in our age, and then Peyton was into My Little Pet Shop and stuff. Anyway,
yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, again,
we had Little Laquetta in my neighborhood.
Laquetta.
I'd say the Golden Globes are recently here, guys. So not this past week, but the weekend prior. Not going to go through all the winners here, but some of the notables here.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I said it when the movie came out. I told you it was an award-winning performance, and she's up for a Golden Globe. I told you Angela Bassett in Wakanda Forever was an unbelievable performance. Congratulations to her.
Yes, absolutely. She won for Best Actress or Supporting Actress in a drama. It's good to see. We talked about this recently in the podcast, but there's not a whole lot of acting accolades in superhero movies.
Exactly.
Certainly we've had
outstanding.
We had Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, of course. We had Heath Ledger as the Joker or Best Supporting Actor. I don't know that there's many nominations, let alone wins. So like you say, it was very good to see her. And you just watching that movie, it's like she just acted her ass off in that. Just very, very good. Yeah, absolutely. Best Motion Picture was The Fabelmans, the Steven Spielberg movie. It's still out in theaters right now. You can get it on premium streaming. Looks very good. It's about a young kid. It definitely seems like it could be a take on Steven Spielberg's own life, a young kid influenced by movies and has a dream to make movies. Looks very good. Definitely want to check that out. A lot of people thought Elvis might win Best Picture, but it did not. He did win for playing Elvis as Best Actor.
Outstanding.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see what some of the big winners. Cate Blanchett won for Best Actress in Tar. Austin Butler, I'm sorry, I forgot his name here. Austin Butler won for Elvis. The Banshees of Inisherin won for Best Comedy. So that's the one I mentioned. That's one reason I went back and watched that on HBO Max. Michelle Yeoh won for Best Actress in a Drama. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. If you have not seen this movie, highly recommended. I watched this over the summer. This is the multiverse movie, not a superhero movie. Definitely worth checking out. It's just a whole different take on the multiverse. Basically, every major decision you make in your life creates another multiverse off of your life. But in this world, the different different versions of yourself can learn to jump into other versions
What movie?
in a different universe. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Okay.
Okay. You can find it out there on streaming for rent, I'm sure. Colin Farrell, again, want to mention that already for Banshees of Inisherin. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio was best animated movie. Already mentioned Angela Bassett. Best director Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans. Ke Huy Quan was best supporting actor in any motion picture. He was also in Everything Everywhere All at Once. You might remember him as a child. He played Short Round in the Indiana Jones movie, and also he was in The Goonies as a young lad. And that's some of the big hits there. Best television series was House of Dragon for drama, the prequel to. And let's see here. Best comedy was Abbott Elementary. So I haven't seen that. I need to check that out on network television. Looks very good. Always wins awards. That's some of the big winners out there in the Golden Globes.
It's award season.
Yes, indeed, absolutely. We got certainly the Oscar season coming up. What's that?
We are up for an award too.
What is that?
Best worst show of all time. It's the worst, but we're the best at it.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
Hey,
sorry, I'll get back to my notes.
Yeah. Pop culture story at you.
Yeah, go right ahead while I pull this back up. Yes.
The Grizzlies started their prison sentence today.
Who is that?
Todd Presley and his wife. Presley knows best.
Nope.
You're kidding me.
Got to give me more than that. I don't know what you're talking about.
You guys are kidding. Wow. It's been one of the biggest shows on television in the last almost 10 years. Presley Knows Best. It's a reality show about this rich guy, Todd Presley, his wife, and his kids. And
well, you lost me at reality show.
Yeah, it's a huge show, and it's been on for a long time. And he's always flaunting his money and clothes and stuff on the show, and found out they were committing fraud, and they got convicted. Him and his wife got sentenced to prison. Huge story.
Oh, how about that?
Started today.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Guess money can't buy everything, huh?
Nope. I can't believe you guys don't know who Todd Presley is. That show's been on every day for years.
Never heard of it, never seen it.
Yeah, I just don't get into the reality. I don't seek it out these days.
You don't have to get into it. It's just everywhere. The commercials have been everywhere. It's just, it's one of those things like every time you turn on TV, a commercial is on.
Okay.
Was it like on A&E or something like that? One of those off channels that
Skinner. I can't remember what it was on, but
it does all nothing but reality. I don't watch those shows, so I don't have any idea.
It's on Peacock now, but USA Network. That's what it aired on. USA Network. Yep.
So is he going to go to that same prison in West Virginia that what's her name was in? The cook.
I can't remember
what's her name?
He's going.
Martha Stewart.
Oh, I think the wife might be going to somewhere like that. I have to read up on it.
Continue to go to hair salons and get her nails done and all that good stuff. Tough prison life.
I'll look into it, check that out. Okay. All right, guys. This week in pop culture history, again, we're shooting this on Tuesday, January the 17th. All the way back in 1967 on January the 15th was the very first Super Bowl. Green Bay Packers versus the, who they played? Nope.
Oh, the
Kansas
Jets.
City. Nope. Kansas City
Jets?
Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs. So the Green Bay won the first two Super Bowls, you might recall. The game was broadcast at the, let's see, CBS at the time, 24.43 million viewers at the time. And NBC also had 26 million viewers. The cost of a 30-second commercial was $42,000. In comparison, the 2020 Super Bowl had 102 million viewers, and a 30-second commercial was 5.6 million back in 2020. So, who would have thought at the time? Obviously, they had a vision back then. It was very smart. So again, it was the first time that the champions of the NFL and the AFL, before they merged, played each other, and obviously have never looked back. So, pretty amazing. Some of the highest televised events on television, even to this day, and it's certainly become like almost a national holiday, as we all know, being football fans. Yeah, and it's not looking back. Of course, this year will be even much higher of a viewership when the Dallas Cowboys get into the Super Bowl versus the Buffalo Bills.
In shock.
It'll be the third repeat matchup in Super Bowl history will be this year. How about that?
I got to tell you something funny real quick.
Go ahead.
The other night, I was talking about the Cowboy game to my sister, and she said, Keith, I haven't watched a lot of Dallas Cowboys, or I don't know anything about them. Are they any good? And I said, Pam, the best way I can describe it is the Dallas Cowboys are the Susan Lucci of football.
Yep. Yeah. For many years
was,
they have been.
Yeah, she was up for that Emmy every year, just always fell short, never got it. She got it once, and she's been living off that. And that's what the Cowboys have been doing, living off the 90s.
That's true for a long time. You're right. Okay, January 16th, back in 1976, the very first episode of the Donny and Marie show aired on ABC. Now, this was a Sid and Marty Krofft production, who made all the, we talked about Sid and Marty Krofft shows, Land of the Lost, etc., all these weird kid shows back in that era.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I remember this show. I remember my parents watching it. I
didn't miss it.
You could sing, I'm a little bit country, I'm a little bit rock and roll. If our generation at least knows some of those clips and may have watched that with our parents in its day. So, so again, you watch it as a kid, Keith, you say?
I didn't miss an episode. Just always having an incline towards music. I love the musical aspect of it. I could sing you all those songs word for word. That's how weird I am. And then there was comedy. So yeah, it was what we had as far as a variety show back then. Loved every minute of it.
Very good. Skinner, did you watch it as a kid around the house or what?
If I did, I don't remember it, truthfully. Yeah. I know the Donny and Marie, obviously, the Osmonds, but yeah, I don't remember the show, unfortunately.
I don't know this for sure, but I feel like it's definitely one of the last variety shows of its kind, it seems like, back then, with the singing and the skits and everything else. So,
you had that, Carol Burnett, Flip Wilson, stuff like that.
It's the bygone era, that's for sure.
Yep.
So today, guys, January 17th, all the way back in 1929, this cartoon character made his first appearance, Popeye the Sailor Man. I just started watching Popeye. It was like on Sunday afternoons. They had to read, the old cartoons, but on Sunday afternoons, and they had the old black and white ones and the color one. That was just a Sunday staple for me to watch some Popeye Sunday mornings for many years. So I don't know that I even really loved Popeye or was a huge fan, but it was a cartoon. It was on. It was familiar. You knew where it was going. But there were definitely some episodes that were pretty funny and entertaining. So didn't even realize this, but it was based on a actual man. I saw some clips on this recently and on one of my Facebook feeds Yeah, it's really pretty. So look up real Popeye or something like that. I'm sure you could see it. But yeah, the sailor that this guy portrayed, it like you say, it definitely resembles the actual man that Popeye was based on. So, Keith, were you a fan of the cartoons, the Popeye, the character?
Yeah, I like watching Popeye, and I don't know if it was the hero aspect, him eating the spinach and becoming strong, or the fact that when he did, he knocked Bluto out. When you think about it in retrospect, it was kind of violent. A lot of things bother me by it. One, why don't the spinach last? Why is it only strong for a little bit? And two, what does he see in this skinny broad? I didn't get that part, man.
I never got that either as a kid.
Come on, you're
right.
picking on olive oil.
Seriously?
I never got it either. Yeah.
She had no hips. She had no nothing. But that was his girl, man. Another thing bothered me, too. Why didn't the old dude ever pay him back for them cheeseburgers, man? That ticked me off.
Gladly pay him on Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday never came. Should have beat him up.
Skinner, were you a Popeye fan?
Absolutely. So you talk about the cartoon. I would be remiss not to bring up the movie that Robin Williams portrayed. Popeye, which he did a fantastic rendition of them. But yeah, no, the cartoons, Sunday mornings, I remember those as well. Like it was yesterday. Watched them religiously.
I haven't seen that movie in years, but you're right. I remember he was
made for that role.
His impression of Popeye was perfect.
It was. He was. If you haven't seen it for a while, go back. I watched it probably about a year ago, and I forgot how good. I every once in a while I go back and watch Robin Williams just because of all the roles he's done. But his Popeye portrayal is spot on.
I don't think anybody else could have done that role that well. Maybe Jim Carrey a little bit, but he was made for that role.
Yeah, it was all the way back in 1980, that movie. The Shelley Duvall. Actually, she was a solid olive oil.
That's who it was, Shelley Duvall, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just had my favorite Popeye cartoon was the one he was babysitting his nephews.
Yeah.
And his nephews wanted to stay up and play the instruments. And he tried to get them to put the instruments away and go to sleep. And then the kids kept finding a way to make music with like the stuff in the house. And Popeye kept trying to catch them and never could catch them. I think at least they were. All the Popeye cartoons might still be on HBO Max, perhaps. The whole library of them were there, at least for a while. But anyway, all right.
That cartoons did wonders. Single-handedly did wonders for vegetables, especially spinach. You think about it, you know what I mean? I wanted to eat some spinach. Spinach is one of the few vegetables that I find disgusting. I just don't like the taste. And I love almost all vegetables. But that cartoon did wonders for it.
Yeah, it sure did.
Yeah, I put it in my juice now.
Very good. And I'll just want to add one more thing about Popeye. It had a kind of a lesser known, but I love this, a Popeye video game in the 80s. I remember going up to Aladdin's Castle up at the Rolling Acres Mall when they had that arcade up there all those years ago. That would be the first machine I would go to is play the Popeye video game, which I later got a cartridge for the Atari 2600. So the premise was very simple. You're just Popeye. You had to catch hearts that olive oil was kind of blowing kisses, and you had to get as many hearts.
I remember that now that you bring it up.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that at all.
Bluto was chasing you around. You had to go up and down and avoid Bluto. And then you had so many cans of spinach that, of course, when you ate the spinach, you could punch out Bluto and give you a temporary reprieve. But so it just got harder and harder to keep avoiding Bluto, and the levels got harder and everything else. So a lot of fun. The lesser known, perhaps, Popeye video game, one of my favorites of the 80s. There you have it. All right. Also this day in 1984, and again, it seems like it would have been longer ago, but so we were in high school, Keith, and of course Skinner was junior high at the time. The VCR officially became legal as ruled by the Supreme Court. So back then, networks did not want the VCR to become legal. Of course, why? Because you could fast forward through commercials and record television shows, and they thought it would cut into their advertising and everything else. Supreme Court said sorry, too bad, and obviously that was, as we all know, that was a huge game changer in television viewing. Think about all the shows that we would have missed without the invention of the VCR. Of course, up to that point, you want to watch a show, you had to catch it live or in reruns.
Right.
That's it. So really pretty amazing. Got all the way to the Supreme Court and ruled in favor of the technology, and obviously it's never looked back. Of course, nowadays it's sort of come full circle to where if you want to watch something on demand streaming, you're going to get ads unless you're paying for a premium streaming service, of course. So it's sort of come all the way back around, I guess. Let's see, January 18th, back in 1974, the $6 Million Man show debuted. Of course, the great Lee Majors. You can find these on streaming out there. I think it's on the NBC app or Peacock as well, but it's definitely out there. You can stream the whole series. I'll go back and watch some of these here. You know what? Just a great show. Just so much fun. Obviously, they had the action figures and the toys. I had the Colonel Steve Austin action figure in my time.
Yeah,
where you could,
one of my favorite of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. So
There were 4 action figures that I will never forget as long as I live. Colonel Steve Austin, Darth Vader, the Incredible Hulk, and Evel Knievel. But yeah, absolutely love that. Hefty eye.
Yeah, you can look at the bionic eye through the back of his head. It was a quote-unquote bionic eye. He had the motion with the bionic arm. He would like lift like the weight or something like that he had. Oh my God, it's so much fun. The ship, yeah. Skinner, were you a $6 Million Man fan?
Not as much. I remember it, probably watched it, but you're not a fanatic, I guess. Put it that way. I remember the action figure, like you said, with the rubber arms and.
You fought Bigfoot.
Yeah, like I said, just go if you're in the mood for something nostalgic. Just search it on your smart device. And like I said, it's definitely out there for streaming. Like I said, Allie and I has gone back and watched some of these old shows. We rewatched the Buck Rogers series and some of these other things.
I've been watching that too.
And we've chipped away here and there at some of the $6 Million Man. I pulled up like the Bigfoot episode when
my favorite
Andre the Giant played Bigfoot. Just so much fun. And Lee Majors acted.
That was Andre?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, the first one was Andre the Giant, and the second one he was Ted Cassidy, who played Lurch, played Bigfoot in the Return of Bigfoot or something like that. But anyway, yeah, just a lot of fun. And of course, it had the Bionic Woman was an offshoot of that, and just a very popular thing back in its time. Okay, January 19th, 2020 was the first case of coronavirus in the United States, the first reported case. Obviously, from there, it really went downhill pretty quickly with the acceleration of the pandemic. It definitely upended all of our lives for years, and we're still feeling the after effects. Of course, now, Skinner, you mentioned this recently that last year you were hit hard in your home by coronavirus. So it almost seems longer ago. I don't know, but it was definitely something that we will never forget. So, yeah, I talk about this for a long time here, but any initial memories of when the pandemic came out you wish to share? Anything, Skinner? Go ahead.
I remember when it first come out, my sister was sick during the holidays of 2019, and a friend was sick as well. Friend Dwayne was sick, and they had the same symptoms that ended up coming out. And I just remember in March of 2020 when they said, you take your stuff home on Friday, don't come back until we tell you to. And during that time, side story, we had just put a offer in on our house in February, and March came around, and I'm working from home, and Marcy got laid off. So we signed papers on April 2nd of 2000, and without Marcy having a job or drawing benefits at the time. So it was a very, very frightening time of our lives, especially when we made this huge commitment to the house. But obviously, as we are today, everything worked out perfect. But it was very frightening. Nobody knew what was going to happen. You know, the whole town shut down. Everything shut down, and you were afraid to even go out of your house. And that's just, you didn't know that feeling without seeing movies. The only feeling you had prior to that is when you saw it in the movies.
Yeah.
And then we were living a real life movie.
I remember when I had to go out for a little bit for the first time.
Excuse me.
It was scary. It was eerie. There was no one out. And every movie that I had seen like that, the Will Smith movie and some of the older Charlton Heston movies, the Omega Man, things like that, where nobody else was on the planet, it seemed like that type of deal. Very eerie feeling.
Yeah, that year, so we had planned a trip to go down to Savannah on St. Patrick's Day, a few of us, and we decided to keep the trip. Now, Allie decided to stay home because she worked for the local health department, and she was getting more information. It was just made her more apprehensive, which is perfectly fine. I still went down with a few of us, and it was just a very strange time. At that time, you might recall, they really hadn't pinpointed how much of an airborne disease that it was. People thought it was more for you pick it up on touching things and touching your face and all that. So it felt like, at least at the time, that it was more manageable where, well, if we're careful in what we're touching and safe distance and things like that, you were less likely to get, little did we know at the time, you're very more likely to catch it through the air. But we were lucky none of us got sick or anything like that. We still had a fun time, but it was very eerie, and they canceled all the big events down there. Not many people were out, like you say. It was just a very strange thing. You didn't really know how long of an impact it was going to be. And you're right, Skinner, for me too, I was at work. It was right around the same time, March. They said, leave your stuff. And that was it. That was the last time that we worked 5 days in the office, was March of right around that time of 2020. So we, obviously to this day, as we talked last week, we're still remote for the most part, even now. So if there's any positive of the whole pandemic, it's probably the change in how a lot of businesses operate as far as allowing more flexibility and remote working and things like that. But it's a very, very strange time. So, okay. 1986 here, guys, on the 20th of January was the very first recognized Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And again, seems like it would have been longer ago, but that was the first day of the official holiday. So we'll be remiss if we did not pause here and remember Dr. King here. The holiday was just yesterday. Keith, any thoughts on Martin Luther King Day, sir? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, my sister and I were praying last night, thanking him for his sacrifice. And I certainly say sacrifice because he dedicated his life to a notion that we're all created equal and that a better future was in store for all of us. He wasn't inclusive. He didn't just say for Black people. He wanted us all. I have a dream speech that I dream when little Black girls and little white boys, you know what I mean? All playing together. And he knew that he was going to pay for that dream with his life. He was well aware of that. If you read up on some of the things he said, even in the speech, he said, we're going to the mountaintop. I might not get there with you. And of course, he did not. He did not see the manifestation of his dream. That I'm sitting here with you two fine fellows right now doing this show and things of that nature. That you're my best friends. And, it's just, I have such appreciation for what he did, the sacrifices he made, and all the other people that came along and did that. In my music class, I taught extensively on the civil rights movement because of the music that came out of it. And one of the things I made a point to point out that you don't hear about when you talk about that era is all the white people that marched with King, all the white people who stood up and said, we're not putting up with this crap. We don't want anymore. But see, that doesn't sell papers. That doesn't sell ratings. What sells ratings is black people oppressed, all white people bad. And there was just millions and millions of white Americans that stood with Dr. King, stood for civil rights, or the bill wouldn't have got passed, if you think about it. So I just thank him for sacrifice that he made.
Absolutely. Skinner, anything to add?
I can't say any more than what he just said. He's, very influential gentleman, and we have a lot to thank him for. Like you said, his sacrifice changed the way things are, and the change is still continuing and still needs to continue. But it all started with Dr. King.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't add more than that either. Very well said. Last one I got here, guys, January 21st, back in 1978. We've mentioned this soundtrack recently. The Saturday Night Fever soundtrack was making it big. So the film Saturday Night Fever was released in December 16th, 1977. So, shortly thereafter, the soundtrack by, of course, many songs, not all of them, but many songs by the Bee Gees went to number one and stayed there for 24 weeks. Think about that. So,
wow,
pretty amazing. And as I mentioned before, in my books, one of the greatest, arguably could be the greatest movie soundtrack of all time. Certainly, if you're a disco fan or a Bee Gees fan, you just love this soundtrack. Just super good, great songs. How Deep Is Your Love, Staying Alive, Night Fever, If I Can't Have You, all went number one on their own from the soundtrack. So this is something you're not really going to see probably again. But just real quick here, guys, is any movie soundtrack come to mind as some of the greatest movie soundtracks in your opinion? It could be beyond Saturday Night Fever if it's one of your favorites.
Three.
Go ahead, Keith.
My favorite. I'll name the lesser one. The soundtrack to The Bodyguard, Whitney Houston movie. I thought that was huge. It's something I probably would have never noticed. I was working at a local record store called Quonset Hut back then, and they would play it all the time. That was a phenomenal soundtrack. Had Whitney on it, In Vogue, Curtis Stigers. That's huge. And of course, the Rocky movie soundtracks are my favorite. Sylvester, his brother, Frank Stallone, Survivor, just great songs, great groups. All the movies, really, all the Rocky soundtracks are phenomenal. But I'm going to tell you one that recently that has blown me away. It's one of my favorite movies. I think it is one of the most unsung movies in the last few years. Went by with no fanfare, and every time I watch it, like, God, I love this movie. Miami Vice. That movie with Jamie Foxx and Colin Farrell. Man, the soundtrack is great. It's got Linkin Park in it. It's got Patti LaBelle. It is just an awesome soundtrack. I love the music to that movie. Oh, and also the first Jurassic Park.
Very good. Skinner?
I had The Bodyguard on my list, but I did 5 real quick. Bodyguard, and would be remiss not to talk about Footloose, the original Footloose.
Yep.
Had some really like the movie, just like the movie, but the music in it was fantastic. The 90s cult movie Goodfellas. Has some fantastic music in it as well. And in my top 2 would go Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
And the number 1 soundtrack to me, and I looked up the website ringer.com. I had the 50 best movie soundtracks of all time, and they agreed with me. Purple Rain, number 1 soundtrack of all time.
That's a real good
one. Yeah.
Now,
I don't know what is wrong with me. Did I say Jurassic Park?
You did say Jurassic Park.
I'm sorry, Transformers. The first Transformers movie.
Okay.
Interesting, real quick. Top Gun was a pretty good soundtrack too.
Yeah,
and
it was pretty
his
good.
Ringers was number 40. I couldn't believe that. Was ranked number 40. But yeah, if you go to ringer.com or look up 50 best movie soundtracks, check out that list and see if you guys agree with me. It's odd that some of those were so high down the list. But Purple Rain, my favorite of all time.
I'll throw you a curveball.
Go ahead.
Twilight. First Twilight movie.
Well, the music, I've heard the music because I've never seen the movies, but I've heard the music.
I haven't either.
Yeah, one of the most interesting songs ever was performed by Robert Pattinson himself. It's called It's very weird. When she was dying, it's the song that was playing when she was dying, Bella. But Robert Pattinson performs that song. Let Me Sign. Great song. He sings it in this bluesy voice where you can hardly understand his words. You'd never guess it was him, but it's pretty amazing.
Very good. I'm sort of in the same mindset of Skinner. I mean, The Purple Rain, one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, that's like hit after hit after hit after hit.
Yeah. And just that whole album was terrific.
What song do you not know on that soundtrack?
Yeah, that's
what
right.
What song?
That's one of the few
Morris Day and Time had some hits off of that movie as well.
Sure. Never heard of that one. You know every song on there.
That's right, absolutely. So just fantastic. You know, arguably Prince's finest work is that album. I mean, it's just terrific. It's such ingrained in my childhood as well. Growing up as a young teenager, when that movie was on cable, and me and friends used to watch it every time it came on. I don't care if it was halfway through, whatever, you watched it just to watch Prince perform and hear the music, and also Morris Day and the Time perform. Of course, Prince wrote a lot of that stuff as well with the Time. So I'm also with you. Pulp Fiction's way up there for me. It's just that whole feel of that movie. I love that movie. I love the type of music in it with the surf rock and all that type of stuff. And as far as collaborations are concerned, well, I mean, I had one more. Batman, Prince again. The original Batman soundtrack that Prince did was fantastic back in the late 80s. And then as far as a couple of collaborations, Boogie Nights, love that movie. All the disco songs in that, fabulous. And then more recent, the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack with all the collaboration of songs. Very, very good, fantastic. It's another soundtrack I can listen to. Not original, of course, but just the collaboration of songs.
Not make that top 50 list. The Guardians. Interesting. Can you believe that?
Yeah. There's so many out there. I mean, you get into instrumentals, you can get into John Williams and all kinds of different movies out there.
Goes on and on,
yeah, absolutely. So, all right, guys. There's plenty. A lot of good content tonight. The beeping in the background signifies that it is time for an end of another episode of a Came from Gen X. And this will be episode 95, by the way. We couldn't think of the number earlier, but this will be episode 95. So a few short weeks away from the extravaganza, the 100th episode. So we'll have to talk about that. Again, maybe that's when we go to Laos.
Okay.
And we visit our one fan over in Laos. And I'm sure he or she will put us up for the night at the house or whatever he or she may be. You know, so we'll look for our fan to contact us. So we'll make those arrangements here very, very soon. But
put a rush on that passport.
That's right. So, Keith, again, when this show airs, it's going to be Friday of this coming week it should air. So anything going on that you want people to hear about this coming weekend or otherwise,
Well,
sir?
it'll probably be too late, but certainly my band Mixed Nuts will be at the Sail Inn in Lake Milton this Saturday, January 21st. Very excited about that. Also, want to encourage you, the hat, coat, glove, and sock drive is still going on. If you're local, get a hold of me. We've been able to bless a lot of people walking around with no coat in the cold, and I'm excited about where that's going. So, and as of Friday, I have just been recast in the role of Lamont Sanford in the play production of Sanford. It's coming back this summer. As a matter of fact,
Very
an actual date for that. Yeah, I'm really happy about that. It's been a few years, and it will be on July 29th at La Pizzeria Banquet Center in Canton, Ohio. Sanford and Son. So look out for
Very
that.
good. Excellent. We'll post information on our social media as well.
I gotta get my afro together, lose a little weight.
All right.
And the great comedian Rufus Malone, who plays Fred Sanford, I mean, spot on. He finally accepted the role to come back and do it. We have a great rapport. He didn't know if he wanted to do it. They were all sending me texts like, you got to talk him into it. He finally accepted. So got to come out just to see him. He's awesome. Famous comedian out of Cleveland.
Very good. Awesome. I'll add again, look for me to the podcast we do, Convincing Idiots with Dean and Nick, pop culture themed and nerdiness stuff. Find us out there on YouTube channel at Convincing Idiots. Also podcast platforms. Find us out there. And thank you. Skinner, any announcements, sir, before you take us out?
Nope. Nothing going on here that doesn't go on a daily basis, per se.
Nothing yet, right, Skinner?
Yeah, nothing yet, right? Yeah, I'll have an announcement here in a couple weeks, so looking forward to that. But yeah, great show, fellas. Good content, some heavy stuff, some fun stuff, some reminiscing about our childhood with the '80s shows and movies and cartoons. Always enjoy that content. So for Brian Fisher and Keith Porter, I am Michael Skinner. What?
Your 49ers is playing his Cowboys. Who's going to win?
We know who's going to win.
I want to hear it.
It's going to be the 49ers, of course. I picked them at the beginning of the season to play the Buffalo Bills, and guess what? They are both still in it.
Sure would love to see a friendly bet between you two, but hey, whatever.
We just might do that. So, yeah, there's an announcement. Look for me and Fisher out somewhere this weekend. We'll post it up on our Facebook page where we'll be. But no, looking forward to the football this weekend. So again, for Keith Porter and Brian Fisher, I'm Michael Skinner. We're the guys from GenX. We appreciate you, and we will talk to you next week. Go Niners.
Go Cowboys.
Go Steelers. Oh, we're out. Never mind.
Keith Porter here, aka Porterhouse from It Came From GenX. We hope you've been enjoying the show, but please make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.